You're our resident social media guy. And of course, always listen to our podcast on your favorite streaming apps.
Well, speaking of finances, the market took an absolute beating in this past week, and businesses have struggled over the past few years because of COVID. And, you know, Mike mentioned I'm a social media guy, so without further ado, we're going to bring on Facebook or Meta's public policy director. Her name is Monique Dorasainvil. Monique, thank you so much for joining us on The Financial Guys. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's really, really wonderful to be here.
Well, I know COVID really impacted businesses, not just New York, but across the country. And you folks release a survey, basically, about the economic impact of COVID. So, Monique, not just in New York State, but across the country, based on your, Facebook made a survey, how were businesses impacted by COVID?
So as soon as the pandemic hit, we knew that small businesses were going to need more support. So we immediately jumped in and tailored our response to commit financial capital, digital skills training, and really proactively promoting small businesses. Since the onset of the pandemic, Meta has been really dedicated to supporting the small business community through new products and really making sure that business owners have the resources that they need to thrive. In 2011, as you know, we launched Meta Boost, an initiative to help educate small business owners so they have the tools to really find success on our platform. And we really wanted to equip them with options to build digital skills so they could compete in this new reality. And we really just boosted those efforts under the pandemic.
And so, Monique, full disclosure, my friend Shannon Connors, she's a dear friend of mine. She owns a gym in Lancaster, New York. She got hit hard by COVID, and that's one of the big things you talked about in your survey, but she innovated. You know, obviously we went from the buggy whip to the car, from candles to electricity. So she used Facebook and Meta basically to have like live online courses. So people were still able to work out. She just used a different platform because people couldn't physically go into her gym. So what would you say to other business owners of basically using that same model that Shannon Connors Fitness did of saying, okay, we're closed, but we're still going to use social media like Facebook to basically thrive and not just close their doors?
I think what Shannon Connor did to really pivot and innovate to make sure that her business could thrive is deeply commendable. What we're seeing is really folks using these digital skills to get marketing out to people who otherwise wouldn't know about their products. A few things that we've really lifted up. We've got a program called the Meta Elevate program, and we really are offering minority-owned small businesses resources, education, and support to make sure that they could hone in on that digital skills factor that you mentioned that Shannon used during the pandemic. One other thing that I really, really hope that folks know about, but I want to lift it here just to make sure. Last year, we expanded our Facebook Invoice Fast Track program so that eligible U.S.-based small businesses will have the opportunity to get cash immediately for the goods and services they've invoiced to their customers, instead of waiting, like 60 to 120 days for a pay period, which is what it normally takes to get paid. So we launched a program last year where we're essentially funding $100 million in invoices on an ongoing basis. And what we were hearing from folks during the pandemic was, if you wait, 60 to 120 days, that's business that you could be making. So if you're able to just turn those invoices around quickly, that allows your business to not only continue to move forward during the pandemic, but to grow and to thrive.
And Monique, my last question for you. I'm the eternal optimist, and I think that's the way I believe politically. The fact that capitalists, we're open-minded, we're optimists. And I know with your small business survey, though, it said that, New York State was hurting more in their business belief and their faith in surviving because of COVID. So what would you say in a positive way to keep an optimism out there, not just for New York State, but for other businesses to say, look, you do have tools in the toolbox to not just survive, but thrive post-COVID pandemic?
I want to list a few things. So one, I want to make sure that everyone knows about the Small Business Hub, where they can really access these tools and trainings so that they can take their businesses to the next level. Second, everyone's talking about AR, VR, immersive technology, the metaverse. We're really focused on metaverse for business. So really thinking about how to help businesses prepare for the technology of the future. I mean, talk about optimism. We have to be forward-looking. We believe that the metaverse will be the biggest opportunity for modern businesses since the creation of the internet. It's the next evolution of digital platforms. It's the successor to the internet that we use today. And when you think about commerce, with the rise of digital commerce, the metaverse will unlock new opportunities for buyers and sellers to connect in a new way. I mean, you could imagine your shop on Instagram becoming more immersive with the option to buy physical or digital products. You could also imagine like a paid online event on Facebook, but imagine you could do that in mixed reality where people could experience and join you in person or buy a ticket for the virtual experience. And the last thing I do want to lift up, May is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and New York is home to nearly 2 million people of Asian Pacific Islander descent. We recently launched a program called Meta Prosper, really focused on empowering, amplifying, and celebrating Asian American diaspora community. So if anyone wants to check out that program, please check out www.facebook.com/prosperwithus.
It sounds a lot more intense than the Google machine. So thank you very much. That's Monique Dorasainvil. She's the Facebook Meta Public Policy Director. Thank you so much for joining us. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
Man, we've got some heavy hitters on this show.
I know.